Hello everyone, and welcome to video number 2 in this series where I'm taking you from my board game idea to Kickstarter success. So, all I have so far is the name of the game and a loose concept. So we're really at the very beginning, and this is essentially the start of the journey. So, first of all, let me tell you what my game idea is, and then we'll go with it from there. So Airport Empire was the first game I launched. Now, if you're curious to know how Airport Empire works, there's a link here to the rules. You can go back and watch that. So my game idea number 2 is evolving on the concepts of Airport Empire, which is a tycoon board game. You start with a small airstrip and you have to build up into a big international hub. And this is based on the PC video games of the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. So the next game I want to do is called Air Base Empire. So it's a military version of this, but it's not just a reskin. I want to evolve the concept, go deeper in some places, try new things here and there and whatnot. So as I mentioned in the first introductory video, I'm going to break these videos down into recap, insights, and objectives. So the first video was an introductory. I set no objectives. However, we are going to do a quick recap because there's some basic things I have done. And if you're doing your own game or your own Kickstarter projects, you can quickly catch up by doing some of these things as well. So I have the name, Airbase Empire. So the first thing I want to do is check if it's been used. So let me do a quick Google search, see if anything comes up. Luckily, there was nothing, no names, no similar concepts. Next, I'm going to go on the domains. So either GoDaddy.com, Google Domains, something like that, and search on there and see if there's any kind of domains available with that name, because that'll give you a good inclination of if it's being used. And while you're there, if it's not being used, it's probably cheap to purchase. So let's purchase it. And that's what I did, and it cost me this much money. Next, what we can do, go on Kickstarter. Have a quick look on Kickstarter. I know with Airport Empire, I was quite deep into the game, and I was, logos done, everything. I'd done the Google searches already. But I never searched on Kickstarter. And when I actually went to create an account, I searched Airport Empire, and there was a project called Airport Empires. And I was like, shit. But luckily, when I clicked on it, it said the project was cancelled and nothing ever came of it. So I got lucky there. So just go on Kickstarter, have a quick look, make sure there's no project similar name there. And then finally, the last thing you can do is go and look at trademarks. So you can go on, there's lots of databases. Just maybe start with the American one. Just go to the American trademark and search it, see what comes up. I'm not suggesting you get a trademark now. It's still early days. I can talk about that in a minute in the insights, but just have a look, see if anything comes up there. So that's the name covered. We've checked all those things. Nothing's flagging. Sweet. That's the name I want. Buy the domain and semi-lock it down. The next thing I'm going to do is sort out my software and planning. So I use a software called Sketch, which is actually it's a UX UI design for websites and apps and stuff. I just use that because I'm familiar with it. However, I'd suggest if you're new, try out Canva, get the year premium subscription. That's where we're just going to draw little, board pieces and stuff, print it out, play around. It's just a nice little creative thing just to knock things together. So Canva is going to cost us this much for the year. And then another thing we can try, I'm trying it first this time. I've never used it before, so it's not really an endorsement, just something I'm going to give a go. It's called Bordersy. And it's a software, an all-in-one software for board game designers. So it seems like a no-brainer. So that combines the likes of Trello and like a whiteboard aspect and notes, and it even comes with tools for like creating mock-ups and stuff. So it looks very useful, so I'm going to give it a go. And for the year, there's a cheap version, like a what do they call it, a creative version, non-business wise, and that's going to cost us this much. So I've signed up for that for the year. And then one other thing I have done since the last video is I've come up with the box art. So here it is. This is the box art I've come up for Airbase Empire. And now this is quite unusual, not necessarily everyone would do this at the beginning, but the reason that I've done this is because it makes a great placeholder. If you're talking to someone about the board game idea and you just want to send them a quick visual, or you want to make a quick splash page, and it just gets the creative juices going and whatnot. You don't have to go full in and go all out for the most expensive box art. You can maybe just do something basic, but this is what I've done here. And a lesson I learned from this Airport Empire is this was the box art I have for Airport Empire. And I love it. It tells a story of what the game is. You start with an airstrip, bigger airport, and finish with a bigger airport. The problem is it's quite busy, which is not a big deal for Kickstarter because people are looking at your full page. They're not really focused so much on the box art itself. However, in retail, that's all everyone has to go on. So I don't think this would work very well for retail. So I came up with this concept for the next game, Air Base Empire, a bit more of a prominent feature and creates kind of intrigue and whatnot. And I actually use that to create another version for Airport Empire, which I'll use in retail going forward in the stores. And how much that costs? Well, it costs about $1,000 US. So like I said, you don't have to jump straight in with the most expensive one. I'll tell you how I came about getting that in the insights section next. And that's it for the end of the recap. That's all I've done so far. So let's just go into a few topics in the insights section. First of all, trademark. So one thing to know with trademark is when I first explored trademark, I thought it was kind of like your username. You know, when you type your username, it's like, that's taken. And then you like add a number or 2 on the end and it's like, okay, you can have it. I thought it's kind of the same, but it's not. Facebook have trademarked Facebook. You can't try and trademark Face Notebook. It's too similar. When it comes to the office, they're going to look at that. It's too similar. You can't have that. So it has to be distinctively different. So if you search a name of the board game you want and it's there and it's too close, it's not going to work. However, it also is by category as well. So let's just say, for example, there was a shoe brand that had Airport Empire shoes. They would have it trademarked in that apparel category. So that means the toys and board games category is open, so I could use it. So if you do see a name that's obscure that you're using, but in a different category, no problem, that will still work. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're doing your search. And that doesn't mean you need to trademark it. Do that much later. It's going to cost you $500 to $600 US, so only do it when you really need to. And the same goes for your business name. Have a quick look at that as well. A funny story with mine, my business name is is-lava.games. I have 2 daughters, Isla and Ava, and that's where I've got is-lava. And it was such an obscure name, I didn't even bother Googling it or looking into it until eventually I was like, I better trademark this. So when I went to trademark it, came back rejected straight away. I was like, whoa, what's going on? So I Googled it, and then obviously there was a bunch of games called The Floor is Lava. And I was like, oh no. Luckily, I actually followed up with the trademark people and they said, oh no, it's an error, no one's tried that yet. So I am going through with the trademark, but it was a close call. So do that with the board game, business name as well. And then let's talk about the box art. So if you don't know an illustrator, I didn't know an illustrator, how are you going to go about getting it? How are you going to go about getting an illustrator for your whole entire board game? This is a good place to start. So I used a website called 99 Designs. And this is good because what it does, you put your pitch out there, your brief rather, you say, I want this, and it will go in front of a community of designers and they'll all pitch their work and you get all 10 submissions and you can see, oh yeah, this one's good, and this one's good, and then it puts them into the next round and then they do a bit more work, a bit more detail. You can give some feedback, I want a bit more of this or less of that, etc. And then they submit again and you're like, okay, I like these 2, and again it goes through rounds until you found your perfect design. So that's great for several reasons. One, I knew what I wanted this concept, so let me see if I can find my terrible sketch that I drew out and submitted, and I just needed to see if you could do it best. However, what's also good is if you don't know what you want. So for the logo for is-lava.games, I didn't really know. I was just like, I want to kind of 2 characters representing my daughters and kind of a bit friendly, jolly, a nice, cool little icon. And I just saw what came, and there was a bunch of different ones that came through, and I just picked this one. So it's good for 2 aspects. So if you've got a box art, you don't know what you want, submit some kind of brief and say, hey, come up with something, see what I've got. And then I found this guy, he was the winner, did a great job, and I used him. I just kept on using him. I was like, well done, that was great, I loved your work. Do you fancy doing some more of this and this and this? And I kept on using him through 99 Designs. So that's a great way to do it. And I suggest you do the same. You don't have to go for the most expensive option. If it's your first time, just do a cheapest option. And then later you can go and invest some more money on the box art. So I went with the most expensive option because I know this guy, I've used it with him before, and it cost me about $1,000 US. And so that's the end of the insights. That's all. I've got insights for you on this topic. So objectives next. What's next? Well, I need to plan out the game. So this will go a bit quicker for me than you if you're following me along, because I'm using a lot of the foundation from Airport Empire. I've made some good progress with that, so I'm building on from that. So it should go a bit quicker for me. But one thing I remember watching or reading about as a designer, and he basically said when he's pivoting and doing new games or whatever, he kind of tries to follow a 30-30-30 rule. So 30% keep the same stuff, 30% improve on some stuff, and 30% add new stuff. I don't know what's happened to the last 10%. So that's what I'm going to do. My co-designer, his name's Mike. We just meet up and we're just going to pitch ideas, brainstorm, try it, print off pieces of paper, play again. That didn't work, that worked, that didn't work, and so on. So there's no real everyone's process is going to be different for that. So that's my objective, is to kind of get a good baseline of what the game is going to be. And that's where we'll talk about in the next video once I've got there. The game design is obviously going to be very specific, so there's not much really to learn from that, but maybe I'll do an update in between just to show you how we're getting on what challenges we're having, and so on. So that's it for video number 2. I'll do another update in a month or so once I've hopefully made a lot of progress, and we can catch up from there. So yeah, all the best. Like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you on the next one.